And we understood these two brass mountains come exactly at the period when the earth is on the third section of the earth's history. Yeah? And we know that there was a valley in here, right? The valley simply means all the institutes of God have been trodden down. And we know they were trodden down at the dark ages. But at the end, the prophecy of Zechariah chapter 6 has got to be fulfilled by having a church triumphant. So at last we will have a church full of all the principles as given to the first callers, as we saw the first people who were called were Moses' group. Yeah? Yes. And at the end, what was given to Moses will suffice. Yes. Yeah? In its antitype. And so we have to study carefully so that we are also part of the 11th hour. You know, we saw last week that we had on Matthew chapter 20, yeah? Yes. We had what we called the first hour call, yeah? And then the third hour. Moses' group was on the first hour call, yeah? And the disciples, when Christ came, were the third hour. We were called at the third hour, yeah? And we had Reformation here, right? The one called at the 6th hour call was William Miller. This is just a revision, yeah? And then we had the 9th hour call, it's Sister White and her group. They were called then. But now we're expecting the last hour call, which is the 11th hour on Matthew chapter 20. Yeah? The 11th hour caller is you and me. Yeah? When they're called at 11th hour. Let's finish that one. And then we want for, if time permits, we will finish to see what happened to cause this valley. What really transpired until the time we are going to have the last brass mountain. Yeah? And here, as we see, let's go to the 11th hour call. We saw that Sister White was called at the 9th hour last week, yeah? And now we'll see on the 11th hour, what is it that we see? We have a call. We have a call there. Read the Matthew chapter 20, verse 6, yeah.
Matthew chapter 20, verse 6. And about the 11th hour,
yeah.
He went out and found others standing idle. And said unto them, Why stand ye here all day idle?
Did you hear the expression idle?
Yes.
It means before the call for the 11th hour, there's no one working. People are just on a warm-up. Yeah? They are warming up, warming with the previous messenger's message. Yeah? And we, from the time Sister White was called, we expect a messenger at the 11th hour call. Yes. And we are found without this message, without practicing it. Huh? We are found still practicing the Sabbath, which was preached by Sister White. But there's something that has to engage us into work, the 11th hour call. There is a servant who is also like all these other servants, yeah, to be called at the 11th hour, yeah? And it should be someone who also has enjoyed all these messages, yeah? So that God faithfully puts the 11th hour message onto that person. Sister White died in 1915. She's dead. Yeah? She can't be the 11th hour caller. She can't be called at the 11th hour. She was called at the 9th hour. And do not make her called at the 11th because she's dead. We know that she died in 1915. So we were left with no one up until we have a call at the 11th hour. Yeah? And don't tell me that in all this period, I told you that in Matthew chapter 20, when they are called from the first hour to the, there was a messenger.
Yes.
There was a prophet. A messenger is a prophet, isn't it? There was a messenger on the first hour, messenger on the third hour, messenger on 6th hour, messenger on 9th hour, and then 11th hour, you expect no messenger. How readest thou? So if you hear people telling you that we got no prophet of this time, that's not true according to the Bible. The Bible says there is 11th hour call. And this 11th call, we saw Sister White, her judgment, when it started in the Holy of Holies, judgment begins with the dead. With those who died from Abel until this time, they are investigated and put in the appropriate books in the book in heaven. So that sanctuary is being cleansed in the books in heaven for the dead. But the sanctuary cleansed for the living is both in the books and while we are alive. Yeah? So that's why we are supposed to be strict vegetarians. Yeah? Because that's another message which will separate these workers. Go to Councils on Diet 382, and we want to see the effect of the first gospel, because Sister White had a first vision, yeah, and her first vision was for us to have a vegetarian diet and avoid meat. Yes. Yeah, and he had a first vision which showed how the 144,000 were going to be purified. So in 382 Councils on Diet, which paragraph is that? Paragraph 3. Right?
Greater reforms.
Greater reforms.
Should be seen among the people.
Greater reforms should be seen amongst our people. That was her people, Sister White, isn't it? Uh-huh.
Be seen among the people who claim to be looking for the soon appearing of Christ.
I've seen people who are claiming to be looking for the soon appearing of Christ, but still eating anything they want. But the quotation says greater reforms should be seen to people who are looking for the appearance of Christ. You should be preparing for the appearance of who? Of Christ. Uh-huh.
Health reform.
Health reform
is to do among our people,
yeah,
a work which it has not yet done.
The health reform has to do a work which it has not done. Uh-huh.
They are those who ought to be awake,
right,
to the danger of meat eating.
Now, those who are in the church where Sister White was the founder, yeah, they are the ones that are supposed to start the greater reform. Because that's the founder of the church being given a vision by God for us to be in the greatest reform of health reform, isn't it? Uh-huh.
There are those who ought to be awake to the danger of meat eating.
Right, wake up. You have to be awake. If you are in the church, which was started by Sister White, she is the one writing there. She's saying greater reforms should come with those who follow her. How can you follow her? When she said, do this, you refuse. So how are you following her? We have to follow her, isn't it? Because she was the founder. How can, it's blasphemy to follow someone and not adhere to the rules that somebody is saying, isn't it? The rules that she was given by God as a prophet. And people claim her to be the last prophet, but do they listen to her? No. Do they listen to her? She says greater reforms should be with the people following her. Because they were looking for the coming of Christ, isn't it?
Those who ought to be awake
Yeah.
to the danger of meat eating,
Yeah?
who are still eating the flesh of animals.
Right. Wait. There are those who are looking for the appearance of Christ, but are still eating flesh from dead animals. Yeah. They're dead. When you eat it, it's from dead ones. It's not from live ones. They are killed and you eat from the dead. That's what Sister says. Right?
Thus endangering
They endanger
the physical,
the physical,
the mental,
the mental,
and the spiritual health.
and the spiritual health. So it's not only for the physical health, it's also for the spiritual health. It's both. I've heard people saying, because I'm healthy, so I don't need to stop eating meat because I'm healthy. No, it's also your physical being or your spiritual being. Yeah? Spiritually, you've got to be prepared to meet Christ. You don't prepare only physically. You also prepare spiritually. Why? Because take it out, you start understanding what God wants. And you see, a big number of reformers nowadays are people who have abandoned meat. The Holy Spirit starts imputing in the brain a reformation. And then you say, these people, they are vegetarian, they are a problem, they are argumentative. No, they are not argumentative. It's the Holy Spirit pushing information of reforming in their diets. And then they understand, and then they clearly see where things are wrong. And they come up with things that are what? That are wrong. This is what meat has been doing, blocking you not to see what is wrong. That's what Sister White is saying. You are endangering, if you partake of the flesh from dead animals, you are endangering your physical and your spiritual and your ngondo. Yeah?
Many who are now only half converted.
Many who are now only half converted. Where is this half conversion? Half conversion is someone who say, I asked somebody, I said, are you a vegetarian? He says, yes. I said, do you eat fish? He says, yes. You know, most vegetarians, they say they eat fish. That's half conversion. Yes. You have got to be fully converted. You call yourself a vegetarian and you call fish a vegetable. Fish is life. Yeah, you cannot claim to be a vegetarian when you still eat fish. You are half converted. Anything that is life, you take that life off and eat. That's flesh eating. Yeah? As I eat white meat, I don't eat red. You better stop both of them, because if you go to the free radicals, they are more in the white meat. The free radicals are the ones that cause a lot of chronic diseases in people. Which are the chronic diseases? Cancer, tumors, diabetes, hypertension, all those. Sister White says, God is going to demand the killing of these animals by cancers, tumors, and all those. We are ingesting things that are going to cause illnesses. Yeah? There's so much which has been done in the food industry to provide for vegetarian diet. There's so much. Even if where you are somewhere where you can be able to provide a vegetarian diet and live by it. But God saying through Sister White, those who are half converted, repeat that sentence.
Many who are now only half converted.
Yeah.
On the question of eating meat.
Yeah.
Will go from God's people to walk no more.
Right. That creates a separation. It's not people who are eating vegetables that separate themselves. No. It's because we do not agree. That's where the mental aspect is involved. The spiritual aspect also is involved. Physically, we can look alike, but vegetarian meat, vegetarian food makes you have your natural look. You have to look natural. There's so much that destroys your physical being by eating those animals. Yes, because you can, like it is with someone who smokes, you can detect when he walks there, you see this is a smoker. Why? Because it shows in the face. You carry that mark also when you eat this meat. Physically, we don't look alike. Physically, you have, because Sister White says, those who ingest in this animal food, animal flesh, yeah, they are endangering their physical and mental and spiritual. 3 portions that we are destroying. So meat is not only for, you don't abstain from flesh because of health only. What about the physical aspect? Would you not draw yourself behind in understanding what the scroll is presenting for the time? Yeah, you won't understand some of the things because the meat is clogging your brain. So the very advantage of eating meat is for us to understand what God wants at a given time. Yeah? So that's why I'm saying the 11th hour call, you find most people, first of all, the very first arm is being a vegetarian. Because it has been preached by Sister White on the 9th hour call. There is no excuse when you go to the 11th hour call. You should have understood what the 9th hour call has said. The only addition Sister White did to Moses, to all these others, the early Christian church, is she now has been given a health reform to the people who follow her. Do you understand? And if you say it properly, she is now preparing us to the same message as Moses. Yes. What was Moses' message? Were they vegetarians? Yes. They were eating manna. Yes. Though they went out of Egypt with all the animals, all the chickens, and when they cried for meat, God did not instruct them to take from their crow. Yes. No. God had to give them quails. And that was not giving them to enjoy. No. That was a punishment. Yes. Because he really strictly said, as far as it reaches the nose, the mouth, it goes through the nose. Yes. Is that giving? No. And you have people say, God gave quails, God punished them with quails. Yes. If you have been taken, they have been taken by Moses, and they've been introduced to manna. Instead of eating their animals and everything, God wanted a peculiar nation. Amen. A peculiar nation which has no brain, which is disturbed. But they were heard crying for meat. If you go to Numbers, you find in Numbers chapter 16, they are crying for meat. Who can give us meat? Yeah? The whole problem in the wilderness was caused by the diet. And so many people died because of that diet. They took the quails. They didn't even understand the language. God said, I will give it. They will eat until it comes out of your nose. That's not a good language. That's not a good language. And they welcomed that. And they ate and what? And perished. There is no way God will prescribe for us in the 11th hour call a diet which he did not give the people with Moses. We have been given a diet. And those who were with Moses were given a diet. Amen. They were eating manna. They were forbidden to go into their kraals and everything. They were with manna. And here we have been given a health reform for us to be qualified to go in the 11th hour call. Amen. That's why he makes us sing that song which says, who will and work today? Did you hear the question? Who will go? He sees the whole lot have been given a healthy message to stop flesh. They're still ingesting. There's no one ready to be in the 11th hour call. Who will be a vegetarian? Who will have a clear mind so that he puts his message and they're ready for the 11th hour call? How can you say we have many workers there, we have pastors, we have whatever, but why is the question saying who will when there's a worker? There's none. That's why the call of the 9th hour and the 11th hour call was, he found people idle. People were working but ingesting that which God forbids. So God is saying nobody ready. They're just working and saying they're preaching. How many people are preaching? Imagine. They're preaching, but go to their plate. Go to the plate. Go to the plate. Yeah. The message which was sent through Sister White was not a joke. It was not a joke. It's not for you to just take up and go and... Moses didn't preach like that. Moses was the first hour caller, was given manna. It did not preach like that. He had no diet of manna. And you know what? When they were killing, the priests were killing, they were killing the lamb, the bulls, the whatever. Only those who were officiating at the altar ate that meat. Yeah? The rest were supposed to continue eating manna. That's why they were crying now for meat, because they were seeing Aaron and his children in the altar eating manna. They wanted it also. God made the priest to eat manna, to eat just for the service, which was a service to as a type of the death of Christ. They were the ones to eat that meat, that Aaron and his children. Yeah? While the people were watching and they went back home to eat manna. Per prescription from God. Right? You keep within his prescription, you enjoy. You enjoy the message. It's nice, sweet as honey. Go away from his prescription. The moment you read the first sentence in the Bible, you are asleep. What is making you doze? Your food. This is supposed to be bread and butter. When you're enjoying the Bible, it's bread and butter. You have to sweat to enjoy the Bible, a vegetarian mind. Now, let's go back to the 11th hour call. Go back to the Matthew chapter 20, verse 6. Yeah.
And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle.
Yeah.
And said unto them, why stand ye here all day idle? They say unto him, because no man hath hired us.
Listen to that. It says, all day, from the first hour, all day idle. What was happening here? Idle. That's why God says start with the 11th hour call. Start paying them first. They worked very hard because people were all day idle. They are the ones who sorted things. The right message with the right mind. Now in its antitype, as it was in Moses. Moses was type. Now to them they are antitype. Moral and ceremonial. Moral and ceremonial. Vegetarian. Manna there, vegetarian there. It's a square. Amen. Keeping the moral law. Yes. Keeping the moral law. Amen. Keeping the feasts and the blood of the bulls. Keeping the feasts and the blood of Christ. Yes. Maroa bobo kanada. Don't want the bobo. We cannot worship God in drips and drabs. We worship God in the fullest. Amen. When we are in the 11th hour call, we should have an antitype of what Moses had. You see, all these people had 2 laws. Yeah? It's only here when the reformers were bringing back because they were starting to run away and causing this valley. They want to go worship God without feasts, because that was working very hard, isn't it? But who worked very hard more than, the people in Moses' time, they worked hard. If you go back to the Old Testament, you see how many cattle they killed. How many sheep they killed per day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. Yeah? Let's thank God. If it was our time to kill 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, people would complain, oh no, there is a recession, or there is whatever, there is no sheep, there is what, but God knew our time we have a lot of excuses. And we are now with the bread and wine to represent that lamb. It's easy to get flour. It's easy to get wine. That's it. But the times are still the same. Not only as to the time, to the event, but also to the time. The time is still the same. Once you understand in fullness the 5 timely messages, they are only to uphold God's covenant. And God's covenant is the ceremonial law and the moral law. Those 2 laws. Yeah? CCH, Councils for the Church. Page 241. Paragraph 3. Yeah? Mm-hmm.
God teaches that we should assemble in his house.
Yeah?
To cultivate the attributes of perfect love.
Right?
This will fit the dwellers of the earth.
Yeah?
For the mansions that Christ has gone to prepare for all who love him.
Right. You see what will fit the dwellers on the earth for the mansions above is the assembling in God's house. When do we assemble? We assemble when?
There they will assemble in the sanctuary.
One?
From Sabbath to Sabbath.
Yeah?
From one new moon to another.
So, we should be assembling on those days to be fitted to inherit the mansions above, where we will continue keeping these feasts. What do we do before we go to the mansions above? Qualify by assembling in God's house from one new moon to another, from one Sabbath to another. These are the ceremonial laws together with the moral law.
Amen.
Right? Finish up.
To unite in loftiest strains of song, in praise and thanksgiving to him who sits upon the throne and to the Lamb forever and ever.
So what fits us to dwell in the mansions above? To get used to these assembled times. Because they will fit the dwellers on earth to the mansions above. Because what God is doing now is, now he is getting us ready to join the population in heaven. Yes. What does the population in heaven do? They assemble from Sabbath to Sabbath, from new moon to new moon, from Passover to Passover, from Pentecost to from tabernacle. This, when we start practicing it, it fits us with the population in heaven. We cannot go there and find them doing all this while we say, nail to the cross, nail to the cross, while they are doing that. We have to go into the system of what is happening there. None of us know what is happening there unless we read the scriptures, which tell us what is happening there is from one new moon to another, from Sabbath to another, from Passover to another. This is now cultivated by those the dwellers on earth to be fitted for the what is happening in heaven.
Amen.
Yeah? So when we refuse to do that, we are also refusing to be fitted. Have you seen people practicing for a wedding? they really practice what is going to happen on the day. If someone doesn't know how to play the step properly, they teach that person until the person knows how to play the step properly. Perfect. So that on the day, there is no discord. And God is saying, He is teaching us to assemble from one new moon to another, from feast to feast, from Sabbath to another. You will not be fitted for the heavenly mansions if you are just doing part. You have to do the whole. For you will have discord there. When the day comes, we are in the mansions above. It should be automatic. Automatic. And this is now the privilege of you and me to qualify. So God is checking on those who are supposed to be fitted in the mansions above. Are they qualified? Have they now started doing what heaven is doing? Yes. That's what that text is saying. Now, let's go back to the 11th hour caller. One thing, the 11th hour has got that's why when we are now going to study, you will find there's somewhere where the 11th hour caller comes with what happened in the valley. Let's go back to Zechariah chapter 6 and start now. We want to know what happened. Right? Yeah.
Verse 1. And I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains. And the mountains were mountains of brass.
Right. We know now. That's passed to us. What we are learning today now, want to know these 4 chariots.
In the first chariot were red horses. And in the second chariot, black horses. And in the third chariot, white horses. And in the fourth chariot, grizzled and bare.
Right. This is what happened after the early Christian church. This Christian church, mind you, what's a horse? Horse is leaders. What's a chariot? Chariot is the church. So when a church is there, it's depicted like the leaders are leading as horses. And the chariot as the church. So the leader should be pulling the chariot. Do you get that? Yeah. The leader should be pulling the chariot. Now, of course, here we see from the first brass mountain, which is the early Christian church, what happened to it? They were led by these red horses. You know, see the red horses? Do you see where they have gone there? They went nowhere. Why? They were invaded by paganism. They were killed here. That's where the Dark Ages were. The persecution was there. It started here. They were killed for the principles were being changed. The religious laws. Daniel 7 verse 25. He changed their laws and practices. Yeah? Their religious practices. Read it. Daniel 7 verse 25. In case someone didn't. Read it in Good News. What was changed?
Verse 25.
Verse 25.
He will speak against the supreme God.
He will speak against the supreme God. That's the person who was changing the feasts. He spoke against God.
Yes.
Yeah?
And oppress God's people.
And started to oppress. How does he oppress? Changing laws. And people who were voicing, making sure they are arrested. They are killed. That's the oppression.
Yeah.
He was a dictator in kind.
Yes.
He
will try to change their religious laws and festivals.
He tried to change the religious laws and festivals.
Yeah. And God's people will be under his power for 3.5 years.
That's the 3.5 years I described in the previous video. 3.5 years, which is 1,260 years, which is 538 AD to 1798 AD. And what happened now? When this church, the early Christian church, was invaded, by that person who was changing times and laws, right? These leaders, do you see their color? What is their color? Red. What does it mean? They were persecuted. They were killed. Red is for blood. They were killed, and this church disappeared there. They were killed. Their times changed. Religious festivals changed. They were killed in the Dark Ages. They were persecuted. That's the red horse. This is how things started. Yeah? And now the next set is the set of horses was the, read that verse, for the next set of verse.
In the first chariot were red horses.
Right.
And in the second chariot, black horses.
The set was the one being led by black horses. Do you see these ones?
Yeah.
Are the black horses. The leaders are horses, but the color has changed to black. Black meaning dark. Dark ages. Leaders. Changing times and laws. These ones have been killed, and this black leadership took possession. This is what happened. We're talking of prophecy here. We've got to know where we are coming from and where we are going for us to identify where we are. The set of black horses, as to Zechariah chapter 6, is the leadership during the Dark Ages. You know them. Don't need me to tell you. You know what happened. Yeah, we are just talking here in principles of the prophecy in the Bible. Is it there? There is not, mind you, let me tell you one thing. There's nothing that happens on earth which is not written in the Bible. Yes. When people are doing what they are doing, come to me, I'll show you where it is written. Yes. And I'll show you what is actually happening. There is no, God is not away from the earth. God is there in the earth while things are happening, and He has prescribed and He has seen what is going to happen tomorrow, and He has put it in the Bible. That's why it is important for you and me to stay with clean minds to understand what is happening. Everywhere. Tell me what is happening. I'll show you from the verse where it is. Anything. Now, this important event of changing times and laws was seen and was written before. Who wrote it? Zechariah. Zechariah did not live after the cross. Lived prior, before the cross, but had written it in black and white. In symbols, in prophecy. John, the Revelator, he wrote somewhere 1896. He wrote before the Dark Ages. Right? Daniel lived in Babylonian in the head of the statue, isn't it? Yeah. In Babylon. He wrote what we are actually doing these days. Yes. So God is not aware and is not away from the earth. Yeah. God has written exactly our history, where we are going, where we have come from, and how the end is going to be. He has put it in clear language in the Bible for you and me to clear our mind by health and temperance and understand. Yes. And pick from the Bible. And know, and don't just fly like a plane which is not on radar. You have got to be on radar. You have got to follow, isn't it? And understand. And when things are happening, when you read things, this has happened, that has happened, is flashing on the TV, you are in the Bible to say, hey, this so and so has done it. That's what we should be. Dare to be a Daniel, dare to stand alone, dare to make a people stand. what the Daniels were living? They were living on earth, but in connection with heaven. When things happen, they will be knowing. Even when Nebuchadnezzar was given a dream and he forgot, Daniel knew it. Daniel knew the dream, was given the dream and told him, earth history. You understand? There should be a people like that on earth. Who will be cruising and perusing and making sure every statement uttered is identified in the scripture. And know what is happening. You live like wise people. You know, the wise men, they knew that they were shown the star. You know, when the angel came to announce the birth of Christ, they say he went into the cathedrals, in the priests. None was ready to receive the news of the birth of Christ. He went everywhere to so prominent people, and no one was ready. And when the angel was angry, about to leave back to heaven with such an important message, saw a light in the bush and went near the light, saw people around. It was at night, around the light, busy perusing about the birth of Christ. And then say, I can trust those people. I can trust them. Now, if you keep yourself without reading, without doing anything, eating the thing that becloud yourself and everything, where on earth will the message be given? Where? When the angel is sent with a message, important messages from heaven, where does the angel go? You see, they were not even in the institutions. They were not being trained to be whether leaders or whatever. They were just laymen in the bush who took upon themselves to say, hey, we got to get going. Let's get going. We can't keep on like this. Let's get going. Yeah? Because nobody is giving us the prophecies of the coming of Christ. Let's find for ourselves. Yeah. And the angel says, I can trust those people. And gives all the message there. Yeah. That's what we should be. Bible scholars. When it says, don't eat this, do not eat. Whether all the people will eat, don't eat it. Don't. You are spoiling your brain. Yeah? So that your brain is opened. And when you see a post, it means something. You get it, brethren? So here, we see the early Christian church. The horses are red. They were persecuted. They were persecuted. They went nowhere. Do you see them? And then who took charge after persecution? The black horse. The dark ages. Yeah. Changing times and laws. And then let's see the next chariot. I said we want to describe what happened to depict this mountain into a valley. What really transpired? Right?
And in the third chariot were white horses.
Right?
And in the fourth...
Hang on. In the third chariot, you see this one coming now? White horses. Who are these then with white horses? William Miller. It's the only church, which church is it? With the brotherly love. Philadelphia. This is the only white horse there we see. Yeah? Because they started with brotherly love. Until 2,300 days shall the sanctuary be cleansed. You see, these ones were red horses. The early Christian church, we saw last week. Early Christian church, called it the third hour. Yeah? And red horses. Red horses. They started as red horses. Yeah? And next we see the black horses here. Black horses. Right? Who are these? The leaders in the Dark Ages. And who were reforming? Martin Luther, John Knox, as we saw last week, Martin Luther. Yeah? Luther, Martin. Let's call him Martin today. And next, John Knox. Let's call him Knox. Yeah? And who else? Charles and John Wesley. Yeah? And who else was reforming here? Campbell. Hey, you see, go and read Great Controversy on Reformation. You meet these guys. You see how they were burning in dungeons. They were thrown in dungeons of wild animals. They were burning in fire. You remember John Huss? Yeah? Those were followers. John Huss singing, yeah, Jerome Huss singing, nearer, my God, to thee, nearer to thee. With a torch of candle, testing it to see how hot it is, knowing that he is going to be burnt to the next day. A torch, a candle, trying it to see how hot it is, and knowing that the next day is going to burn. And when he is in the fire, he is singing the song. Still, all my soul shall be nearer, my God, to thee, nearer, my God, to thee, nearer to. And when he has died in the flame of fire, they will hear nothing from the song. He stopped singing by his death. Very strong to the death, unto death, because he was preaching a message from God. Amen. That's something that people do not understand. Once God raises you to preach a message, you have got to do it. Whether it means you're going to burn, you do it. You have to do it. Proclaim a message of love to the people who do not want God, but God loves them. So you've got to die for it, like what Christ did. Died on the cross for the people. The message is from God. They cause that. The messenger has to endure it. Shunned by people. All the things that they do for the message to be proclaimed. You understand? The 11th hour callers have a messenger. They have a leader who will lead the movement of the 11th, who is already leading. You understand? If we have a message of feasts, ceremonial law, and moral law somewhere, it means it's started. You better trim up your socks. And do that job, if you are for that job. Otherwise, you regret. You understand? Because it's a message for the hour. Yeah, don't see people going to keep the feast three times a year. They are in a message. Amen. In 11th hour call. Amen. Where was all this? No, it's got to come with a messenger. Oh, yes. There's no way or whatever. It's got to come with a message. You see, when Sister White preached, it was not there. No. When William Miller preached there, it was not there. No. It had been trodden there. So the sanctuary is being cleansed. It starts with the judgment of the dead. Sister White was the leader for those who are judged while dead. And we have a leader for the judgment of the living. Now, let's understand properly now what happened. We have seen the next set of hosts was black, which is Dark Ages, and the next one was Philadelphia, white horse. And when we are talking of Philadelphia, we're talking of William Miller there. So William Miller, yeah, is the white horse. white horse. Right? You see? And their message, we saw it last week. Yeah? Never mind, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a school teacher, though. I know how to write in a board. Their message is under 2,300 days. Preaching to those reforming churches. Yeah? Being a fifth grain in Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 9. The fifth grain is millet. Yeah? These ones are the first grain. Martin Luther, we saw it last, it was wheat. Next, barley, John Knox. Yeah? Next, beans, Charles and John Wesley to form the Methodist. Right? Next is Campbell for the Baptist Church. It was which grain there? Lentils. Yeah? And then now we have the grain millet to form the William Miller's group. And then with Sister White, we saw it was Fitches. Yeah? It's a grain called Fitches. Yeah. The 6 grains of Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 9 are thus. Yeah? So, what we see is judgment for the dead. Sister White said it. When Christ entered the Holy of Holies, he starts with the judgment of the dead, which is succeeded by judgment for the living. So Sister White was on the judgment of the dead. You understand? But here we have judgment for the living. Another messenger, which Sister White saw. I saw messengers hurrying to and fro. It's early writing 277. Yeah? Hurrying, preparing for important. Then I saw another mighty angel prepared to join with the third angel's message. And when this angel came, that angel, where is Sister White, by the way? It's a Sabbath keeper, isn't it? Yes. So it comes to join the Sabbath keepers. That other messenger comes to join the Sabbath keepers. So it's an extra message coming with a messenger, with another prophet. Amen. Which nobody, you know what? The problem with prophets is when they are working alive, nobody accepts them. Nobody accepts them. Yeah? We might accept some of those who are not false, who have large numbers of people and healing people, and that one we quickly accept. But coming with messengers, even this very Sister White had a lot of problems with brethren accepting her. Actually, she ended up in Australia. That's where, because of deep hatred and people who did not trust her. I know that's what happened. I can give you where it is written. It's written. If you go to read the history in WV and see what was happening when she was now selling straws, strawberries, selling strawberries to people to get a living. We know everything is there. Read in the Bible, in the spirit of prophets. So you understand that the prophets are not wanted or believed when they are working. But come 1915, when she died, everybody say, "Who's Sister Waituti? Who's Sister Waituti? Who's this?" As if we believed her at the time when she was living. If we believed her, we should also be vegetarians like what she taught. Yes. We should also be keeping annual feasts like what she taught. Yeah. So you can see we didn't believe her. We didn't believe her, did we? No. We didn't believe her. If you're still saying the fish is a vegetable, yay, you didn't believe her. We didn't believe her. You didn't believe her. You didn't, because she taught that the flesh of the dead animals will kill your physical and your mental and your spiritual well-being. So how come then we go on to eat it to kill ourselves? This is our message as a people. It is our message. Wherever you go, if you say I'm a vegetarian, they will identify where you go to church. They will identify you with a religion. So it is our message. Let's not run away from it. It is our message. Yeah? So now it's going to screen people to enter into the 11th hour call. And Now we have seen, here, we have seen the white horse, which is here, William Miller. And what are we expecting there? The next set of horse to go to the next call, isn't it? Yeah. Now let us read the fourth chariot.
And in the third chariot were white horses.
Mm-hmm.
And in the fourth chariot,
right?
grizzled and bay horses.
Hang on. The fourth chariot has 2 sets of horses. Uyakuzwa phela la? Ndopa nenyaya ipapa. 2 sets of horses, grizzled and bay. Huh? In Shona, grizzled and bay, what does it read? In that same verse, Shona. Where has got Shona? We see that this set, your Sister White ish. Yeah? The next horse, I said the horses are leaders. Chariots are church. They have 1 chariot. Do you see? That's the very striking thing. They have 1 chariot, but 2 sets of horses. Bay and grizzled. Yeah? Bay and grizzled. Now, which ones are grizzled and which ones are bay? We will get it from an expression, from a quotation. Sister White, she wrote for Testimonies for the Church, page 80. Right? What did she say about what was coming in front of her? What she had not experienced. What did she say? Right? Huh?
The days are fast approaching.
Days are fast approaching. Mm-hmm.
The days are fast approaching.
Yeah?
When there will be great perplexity and confusion.
There will be. You know why God has to set this time with 2 sets of horses instead of 1? It's because the chariot is now entering into a phase where they should be selected the 11th hour caller. Yes. Yeah. So he's got to set, because he said the diet will separate the people. Some who are half converted in meat eating will walk no more with. What has happened? Some go to the bay horses and some go to the grizzled. It's 2 horses. Do you understand? Now, because if there is separation, each group has got to be a leader. Each group has a leader. We said it's the church militant which we have, isn't it now? Now, a church militant has tares and wheat. Now, when they should separate, the wheat have leaders and the tares have leaders. Amen. Otherwise, we have no rule to interpret that. Do you understand? Yeah, because we have been told it's the diet that will make people walk no more. Meaning they are separated. Go to Councils on Diet, page 382, third paragraph. That's what it says. It says, those who remain half converted in meat eating will walk no more with God's children. Why? Because they had been given the health message by Sister White. They're supposed to abide by it. Otherwise, they walk no more. Ngiyafuna amangqina unosara wakabata mangqina we will walk no more with God's children. Unosara upha mangqina matumbu kana ndaenda kuKrisimisi ndoda matumbu unongosara ukuzvizo so. Bay horse will take some, grizzled horse some. Nyama embongolo keto nyama embongolo. We have a set of the last days where we have 2 sets of horses, or 2 sets of leadership. If horses mean leaders, then we have 2 sets of leaders. They are not the same. Some are bay, some are grizzled. Even Matthew chapter 7, if you go to it, it will tell you smart There are two ways. Enter into the narrow one. And let's go to Matthew 7. We'll come back to testimonies for the church, page 80. Let's hear Matthew chapter 7. We'll enter in. What verse is that? 13, right? Listen.
Enter in
Yeah.
the straight gate.
Enter in at the straight gate.
For wide is the gate,
The gate is wide. Uh-huh.
and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction.
Do you see there is a road in the same, these two bay horses and grizzled horses, they are forming two ways. One is wide, the other is narrow. So you have got to see and analyze properly. There are two leaderships in the last church. In the last chariot, it has been designed in the Bible. Not by person, but the Bible. So if you are angry, be angry with God. Because he wrote that. He said, these ones had one leader, one leadership, one set of leadership. This one has two sets. Yeah? There's a broad way and a narrow. Two ways.
Different destinations.
Yeah?
Enter ye in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction.
You see, the way which is wide, he has many people. And he has a leader. He has leadership. But the problem is it goes into destruction. Why should things be wide? Things are very enjoyable. Easy. Where you are going, don't. It's wide. You can enjoy in that road. You see, it's a broad road. Right? Whether you say, God says, start kneeling. Don't approach God standing. They say, whether kneeling or whether standing, kneeling is in the heart. Have you seen the heart, what it is? Have you seen an operation, the heart? Have you seen it with the bended knees? The heart is in the kneeling is in the heart. God has created men with the joints. So they can bend in reverence. That's not questionable. Someone say, the joints which kneels is the knee. This one is a vertebra. It's got no joint. There's a vertebra. So he separated people with a common practice. A common practice of courtesy. Courtesy. You know, when my child brings water, he bends to show reverence. And God comes with the custom we are used to and say, do it to me. And people want quotations and verses for that. When it is a normal practice. Yeah. So you don't need to dwell on quotations on what. Just ask what is the right thing. And the right thing is courtesy. That's the right thing, courtesy. Yeah? Sister White preached a message. Listen to what she says in Battery Creek, in that book, Selected Messages, volume 1, page 311. Selected Messages. She preached a good message. 311. She was talking only about the posture to approach God. 2SM. Selected Messages, volume 2, page 311. She was only talking about courtesy and reverence. Just a common practice. You understand? Go to 3:11 and read where she says, I've been.
I have received letters.
She also had people who wrote letters to her to ask whether to kneel for God or not. Listen, someone writes a letter to Sister White to ask whether God deserves the knee. It says, we have organized amongst ourselves not to kneel. You have to dare to be a Daniel and stand alone. Listen to that.
I have received letters questioning me in regard to the proper attitude to be taken by a person offering prayer to the sovereign of the universe.
She received a letter. I think that's an insult to write such a letter. That's an insult. Yeah? And when someone kneels for God, someone will attack and call wickedly by a name Fukamists. Laughing at someone reverencing God. And give a name Fukamist. You know? It's a good name. Do you know even the name Christian came as a provocation at Antioch? They were first called Christians. Why? People were saying, this is Christian, because the name of Christ was for him, isn't it? And those who were following, this one we can't call Christ, but let's say Christian. It's Christian. It was a provocation. It was a provocation, and now we are mentioning it well. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. It's a nice name, isn't it? Yeah. Never mind. Even the name Fugamis is going to be a super name. What's you? God comes and says, what's your name? He says, Fugamis. He knows this one is Fugaming for me. Amen. So you should accept all nicknames with blessings. Now, I have received letters.
Where have our brethren obtained the idea that they should stand upon their feet when praying to God?
When Sister White is asking a question, where have our brethren obtained the idea that they stand erect? Yeah? That question only, do you get my point? Does not need an answer. It's like me walking in the house and find all my kitchen set, which are nice, being used by children. And then I say, where did you get the idea that you use that kitchen set? Would a child say, I got it from verse so and so, verse and the quotation that I stand? Would you answer that way? So many people will come and I will come to you. Do you know where I'm going? Ndoda kuziva kuti munozwa nepi kuti munokwada. Ndinouya kumba kwenyu munozwa. Right.
Those who rose up.
Listen carefully. Listen to that one.
Those who rose up when Jesus did kept their eyes fixed on him.
You see, those who rose up now, they kept their eyes fixed on Jesus.
They kept their eyes fixed on him
as
he left the throne and led them out a little way. Then he raised his right arm,
Then Christ raised his right arm.
and we heard his lovely voice saying,
Right?
"Wait here.
Yeah?
I'm going to my Father to receive the kingdom.
Right.
Keep your garments spotless.
Yeah?
And in a little while, I will return from the wedding and receive you to myself." And I saw a cloud chariot.
Do you see what she saw now? A cloudy chariot.
And I saw a cloud chariot with wheels like flaming fire. And angels were all around it.
Right?
As it came where Jesus was.
Right? You don't have that portion, do you?
No.
Yakavizwa.
He stepped into the chariot and was borne to the holiest where the Father sat.
Right? He went back to the Father in the holiest.
And there,
And there.
I beheld Jesus as he was standing before the Father,
Yeah?
a great high priest.
So what was there? Christ was a great high priest in the holiest.
On the hem of his garment was a pearl
And a pomegranate.
Then Jesus showed me the difference between faith and feeling.
Right?
And I saw those who rose up with Jesus
Yeah?
send up their faith to him,
Right.
the holiest, and pray,
Right.
"My Father, give us thy Spirit."
Right?
Then Jesus would breathe upon them the Holy Ghost. In the breath was light, power, and much love, joy, and peace.
Right?
Then I turned to
Right.
look at the company who were still bowed before the throne.
Who were still bowed? Those ones who remained while those were the company had been taken out. So he now wants to know what remained happening there.
They did not know that Jesus had left it.
They did not know that Christ was no longer there.
Satan
Right.
appeared to be by the throne.
So someone stepped by the throne. And what?
Satan appeared to be by the throne, trying to carry on the work of God.
Trying also to carry on the work of God while others have gone.
I saw them look up to the throne and pray, "My Father, give us thy Spirit."
And what did the Satan
And
say?
Satan would breathe upon them in an holy influence.
Right?
In it there was light
Yeah?
and much power,
Right?
but no sweet love,
Right.
joy, and peace.
When is that? Where a company had been removed from the church and went with Christ. And Christ said to them, "Wait, I'm going to my Father to take the kingdom and come back." And say, Sister White said, gazing to those who remained, they did not know Christ had gone. Instead, another boss came and pretended to be Christ. And they cried to that boss to give strength, and the boss gave the power, and there was no sweet love. Right, let's go next.
Satan's object
Right.
was to keep them deceived.
The devil's object was to keep them deceived.
And to draw back and deceive God's children.
Right?
I saw one after another leave the company who were praying
Right?
to Jesus in the holiest.
Right?
And go and join those before the throne.
There were some who were also with those company who had been taken by Jesus, who got tired also and joined those who are in darkness.
And go and join those before the throne. And they at once received the unholy influence of Satan.
There was an unholy influence.
About 4 months
Right.
since I had a vision of events in all the future, I saw the time of trouble such as never was.
She also saw now we were now entering the time of trouble.
Jesus told me
Yeah.
it was the time of Jacob's trouble, and that we should be delivered out of it by the voice of God.
Right?
Then I saw the
You see, it's a series of events happening, starting with those in the 11th hour call. They started by kneeling. And this is what transpired. It's not me saying, it's the spirit of prophecy. I'm just relating what happened. And then what next?
Then I saw the 4 angels cease to hold the 4 winds.
Instead, now, the 4 winds that are held from 1844 loose started loosening up. Uh-huh.
And I saw famine,
Right?
pestilence,
Pestilence.
and the sword.
That's the time of trouble.
Yeah. Nation rose against nation.
Right?
And the whole world was in confusion.
Yes.
Then we cried to God day and night.
Then we cried to God. Those who were outside started crying to God day and night. Uh-huh.
Day and night for deliverance until we began to hear the bells on Jesus' garments.
Until they heard the coming of Christ. The bells can they get coming with the cloud here, coming with the kingdom. Yeah? And
And I saw Jesus rise up in the holiest.
Jesus rose now in the holiest.
And as he came out,
As he came
we
out.
heard the tinkling of the bells. And
Tinkling
we knew
of
that
the-
our high priest was coming out.
Right?
Then we heard the voice of God.
Right.
It shook the heavens and the earth and gave the 144,000 the day and
Right.
hour of Jesus coming.
Amen. You see the series of events. Right? Next.
Then the saints were free,
The saints were free.
united, and full of the glory of God.
Right?
For he has turned their captivity.
Right?
And I saw a flaming cloud
Right.
where Jesus stood.
Right?
Then Jesus laid off his priestly garments and took upon his kingly robe
Right.
and took his place on the cloud which carried him to the east.
Yeah. Do you see the cloud? He instead now he went into the cloud, and the cloud didn't go to south or north or west in Jerusalem.
Amen.
This is what is there in the spirit of prophecy, right?
Then Jesus laid off his priestly garments and
Priestly
put
garments
on
also.
his kingly robe
Right.
and took his place on the cloud
Right.
which carried him to the east,
Right.
where it first appeared to the saints on earth.
Amen. Now it all started with kneeling. It all started with kneeling. Then out. Wait here. I'm going to get the kingdom. Then back to the east. Yeah, okay. Now, when we stand for the truth, it was a gamba. Because where the end is near. Is near. It starts with, I did not see any ray of light going there. Instead, there was another spirit there. That's what the spirit of prophecy says.
Then Jesus laid off his priestly garment and put on his kingly robe.
Right?
And took his place on the cloud, which carried him to the east,
Right.
where it first appeared
Why
to
would
the
the
saints on earth.
why would the cloud carry Jesus to the east?
That's where it first appeared to the
Because
saints
he's
on earth.
coming with the kingdom, and the cloud carries him to the east. Why? Why not west? Why not south? Esipakapakeni or whatever, but to the east.
Because the Christians were there.
Right?
A small black cloud,
A small black cloud,
which was the sign of the Son of Man.
like it was with Noah. What happened when probation closed and they went into the ark and the door was closed? A small black cloud. Do you see? Now we have a small black cloud coming with Christ. Where to? To the east. The kingdom starting
Amen.
in Jerusalem
Yes.
as it was prescribed. Thy kingdom
Come.
Thy will be done on earth as it is.
In heaven.
You know, the message is so clear. And God leads the way of anyone who is willing to know the truth. Read on, read on.
While the cloud was passing
Right. You
from
see,
the holiest,
it had to pass with Christ.
while the cloud was passing
Yeah.
from the holiest
Eh.
to the east,
Yeah.
which took a number of days.
You see, it had to take a number of days.
The synagogue of Satan
Yeah.
worshipped at the saints' feet.
Now that's when the 5 foolish virgins worshipped at the 5 wise. Now you see, the job of the 11th hour call is now accompanied by Christ in the kingdom. What, like we are doing in other videos, we said that when Christ, Michael stands, there shall be a time of what? Trouble, such as never was. Now what the job which is there in heaven is to make up the servants of the 11th hour call. And we have seen how it started and how it's going to end. It's up to you. Life is a choice. It's up to you to see whether here we have seen the two sets of horses. And Zechariah chapter 6 says the other one are grizzled. And they are heading where? Zechariah chapter 6. Chapter 6, for these grizzled and the bay horses pulling one chariot.
Verse 4. Oh, sorry. And in the third chariot, white horses, and in the fourth chariot, grizzled and bay.
Yeah.
Then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, What are these, my Lord?
What are these?
And the angel answered and said unto me,
Yeah.
These are the four spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. The black horses,
The black horses.
which are therein,
Right?
go forth into the north country.
They went to the north. Yeah? That's where Babylon was. Right.
And the white
The whites,
go forth after them.
they also went after them.
And the grizzled
The
go
grizzled.
forth towards
Listen to
south
the
country.
The grizzled, they are going down south of the east country. South of east, you know where it is. And
And the bay went forth and sought to go that they might walk to and fro through the earth.
which horses were given permission to go through and for the whole earth? The bay horses. So we have two sets of horses right now. There is a set which will just go to the south. Nothing more but to the south. But there is a bay horse, a set which will go through the whole world, permitted to proclaim the loud cry. Amen. You and I have got a right to read, right to worship. All that is human right. But make sure you are doing the right thing. Make sure you are doing the right thing, which is prescribed. May God bless you.